is intelligence. Wisdom is kindness. Love 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 is intelligence. Wisdom is kindness. Wisdom is kindness. Love is intelligence. 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 Wisdom is kindness.
Hello and welcome to Butterflies and Dragons episode five with my very special guest and friend and brother, Santiago.
Hello,
Take
hello,
two.
internet world. Here we go.
So yeah, we just started the stream, got about 5-10 minutes in, and I realized that I didn't press go live.
Yes. So,
So it's not the worst mistake I've made, you know, in the studio.
good way to get out the butterflies
Yeah, right.
and dragons.
So thanks for joining. Say hello if you can.
Yeah.
I got the chat to monitor, so if there's any questions or anything, drop them like they're hot, and you will get an answer one way or another. So I just want to quickly introduce Santiago. We have been friends, and more than that, really consider, I mean, it's obvious,
Yeah.
you family and your family. And we have known each other. We did the math, since what you said, 1994-ish.
I want to say.
Yeah, somewhere around,
Four.
yeah,
Maybe
or a little
93.
bit before that. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe
a little bit before
93.
that. Yeah, because me and Sean met in middle school, 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah.
So yeah, early 90s, definitely. And I was reminiscing a little bit, and I'll do it again. But remember one of the early memories that I have of Santiago, which you would have been, you know, maybe single digits then.
Oh,
Maybe.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, younger than 10.
Well, it was
For
when
sure.
him and his brother shared a room, and I was, I don't want to say perplexed, but I was interested. They had their like, what do they call those, RC racers, or
It's old now, but
those
it's
little
like
track race
it's like
cars?
a little race car track with the little pull trigger and
Yeah,
like electric
the
cars.
grounding and stuff
I
like
don't know
that.
what they call that toy. It's a fun
They were super
thing to
cool.
look into.
And they had it on the wall. It was hanging on the wall.
Tycho. Shout out to
Uh,
Tycho.
So I was like, okay, these guys are different. And then, as life went on, I actually seen more science experiments besides that one. There was a lot more from both of you and your brother. So it was kind of a
Yeah,
family
we have
family
creative
thing.
minds. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, also to add to that, you are one of my brother's good friends, and that's how we met back then. So yeah.
that's why I'm gray and he's not. That's the only
Yeah.
reason. But I want to give them a brief introduction. We have done some streams together before. Um, so go back and check them out. They're pretty cool. I thought they came out quite nice. So I don't want to give a full rerun of things, but if we need to, we can. Um, but my friend and brother here, Santi, is a DJ, and he goes by DJ Mowgli. I'd say, we talked about it again not too long ago. Not quite as active
Yeah,
as that in that type of thing, but I'm
it's
sure
been
it's still part of
I'd
your.
say it's been over 10 years since I DJ'd, and but also produced music and rap and yeah, there's stuff out there on the internet of me rapping and DJing and DJ Mowgli, Mogli. So if you're interested in fun music from me 10 years ago, take a look.
And I will end up dropping a YouTube link in here. I didn't do that yet because I'm always trying to do too much. And so when you try to do too much, you sometimes miss some of the basic things that, but yeah, I'll put that in there. Um, DJ Mowgli on YouTube.
Yep.
Look for
And
that
then yeah,
face.
DJ Mowgli music.
Yeah, cool stuff, cool songs, good lyrics. Um, Actually, I was excited last time we were hanging out at your place, when we were doing the drums and making sounds, and you did one of your lyrics.
I did do
That was
that.
very cool.
Yeah, I
That was
forgot
super
about
cool.
that. That was yeah, so now that's what we do more, I'd say now, making music just for ourselves, drum circles with others, sound bowls and sound bath healing, stuff like that. So it's still a creative force and it's still a passion and a drive. It's just changed direction.
Yep, yeah, different intent.
Different intent. That's a good point. Yeah.
So, also speaking of intent, I would say that Santiago is a accomplished um, in the art of manifesting, and I think we're going to take a little bit of time to delve into that a bit.
Yeah. When you
So,
say it like that, it's like, "Wata! Accomplished in the art of manifesting." The art of manifesting. Yeah, manifesting, I would say this is something that when I was younger, younger as in younger 20s, I seen it happen and it surprised me and I leaned into it, learned more about it, and yeah, here I am still saying that we are manifesting whether you realize it or not. It's really just the way life works. It's kind of an awareness thing. If you're aware of what's happening and how you manifest, and then gaining that skill set of awareness to, I guess you could say, the universe's nods and the universe's opportunities. So yeah, we could go into that a little
all
bit
right,
more.
yes, yes, yeah, I know it's hard for me to going. Oh, damn, I get okay, um, and also kind of in the wake, I guess, of the waves of this journey of life, journey of spirit. Um, Santiago has founded a organization that I'm going to just call a church, and you can clarify. I know we've again we've done this not too long ago.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, it's technically it's a church, nonprofit religious organization, but the word church comes with, I guess you could say, a specific type of general idea that it's, a specific religion. I'm not following or practicing any specific religion other than the indigenous teachings from elders that I've come across, books that I've read, and just my own personal experience of spiritual growth. um, that way it's more open to more people, different people. I think there are a large amount of people that have certain biases against religions. Um, they have certain experiences, some of them, that made them not really trust or like religions. So this is a way for people to uh, create a relationship with the Most High, to grow their spiritual side without having that type of, I guess, stigma of a religion. Essentially, the intention is to help people and to help people communicate and commune with the Most High, God, Great Spirit, however you want to word it, and that's generally the the goal of what we're accomplishing.
kind of just so I don't forget down the line, if somebody wants to reach out in that regards, what's a good way to do so?
All right. So the organization is called Light of the Great Spirit. You can find us on Instagram, and it is Light of the Great Spirit. No spaces, not spelled funny or anything like that. Just Light of the Great Spirit. You can reach us there. Our email is Light of the Great Spirit at proton.me. So again, no spaces, just Light of the Great Spirit at proton.me. And yeah, we are located in the Bay Area in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
And so, besides being the founder of this organization, again, I'm going to just go with. I like to be called. Your name is Pete. I'll be repeat. Um, he does work that some people would consider shamanic. Um, and I don't really feel like defining that at the moment, but I know earlier some people would say the facilitator. Um,
Yeah. So yeah, the word shaman. So a lot of people do say, "Oh, so what are you, some kind of shaman?" Like I have heard that a lot, right? I wouldn't call myself a shaman, but it is what the general population categorizes what we do. What we do is we facilitate sacred ceremonies with plant medicines. That's not all of what we do. There is also, like we were saying, drum circles, meditation circles, family friendly gatherings too. But some of the deeper work is with plant medicines, ceremonies with the Bufo alvarius toad and psilocybin mushrooms. I don't facilitate ayahuasca, but things like that. If you have heard of that, so yeah, that's the shaman side of things, is facilitating those sacred ceremonies.
and maybe a little bit more, but maybe we'll get there later.
Yes.
I think there's some uh, unique intuition that you have that is kind of above and beyond, um, in my opinion. So I'll leave it at that for the moment. Don't want to argue this early in the. No. All right, and so is there anything that you might want to elaborate on before we kind of get into some of my inquiries?
Um, Not too much. I mean, yeah, the words that we're using, don't take it the wrong way. That's all I'm saying. This is life and we're living it as regular humans, and people make a big deal out of stuff that isn't. So, yeah. Nothing really from the beginning right now that I could think of to say, but take this with a open mind is all I can say.
All right, and thinking back to your earliest memories
Uh-oh, you don't want to do the
from
earliest
the
memory.
womb and beyond, and was there any hints or interests that you had that may have evoked like this again spiritual path that
Yeah.
you are walking, talking, and living?
So I would say, yeah, yeah, from my childhood, there's some things that I observed, and some experiences that I had even as a kid. Um, so I was raised with a religious foundation. My mother did raise us as Christians. She did take us to church. So I was familiar with Christianity and uh, was baptized in a Catholic church. She converted later on, but I did see. So one of the things to add to that, I guess, would I did see a new church from the ground up become something big, which is, I guess, not many people see. So the church is Faith Fellowship Foursquare Church. They're located in San Leandro, California, and my mother actually with some of the beginning followers was one of like the first followers of this pastor, before they even had a location. I'm pretty sure he was using school cafeterias or like the basketball courts inside, to have his church ministry, his mass. And I remember as a kid going to these different places and then seeing them actually get a location and then seeing them grow. So I do remember very specifically like seeing what uh someone who is following their heart, following their path, right? That minister, that pastor. I do recall that like as a childhood seeing that. Um also in church, I have had some of those experiences, I guess what you would call feeling the Holy Ghost, like getting a warm, tingling sensation during church and feeling spiritual sensations. I don't know how else to describe it. So yeah, as a kid growing up, I guess I was open to that or more sensitive to that. It was something that was there for me. Um, Also, on the other side, not in a religious context, not in a church setting, I specifically remember when I was younger having out of body experiences. One specifically, I remember. I do know I was living with my uncle at the time, and my family was living with my uncle at the time. So we were in between houses, and I fell asleep on the couch watching some kid show, who knows at this time, I don't remember. But I remember falling asleep on the couch. I remember watching myself being carried from the couch into the bedroom and on the bed. And then I remember when I woke up later in the morning trying to understand what it was that happened or how did I see myself, because as a kid I just thought it was a dream. You don't quite put it together. Everything as a kid is
Just go
okay.
with it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but later on, I understood that to be an out of body experience. I was asleep, probably in some middle of sleep REM or not quite there yet. And when I got carried, I seen myself being carried by my uncle. So it was, yeah, stuff like that. So there has been that. Then as we get older, the childhood of the teens was a lot more rebellious and experimental. And that's when the psychedelics and different types of street drugs, I guess there's no other way to say it, right? So mushrooms and LSD. Um, yeah, as a teenager, I experimented with those. I actually really liked mushrooms and experimented a lot with mushrooms. Um, and that turned into my spiritual path in a weird way. So I don't know how people feel about that. Like I said, open mind, have your bias. But I can say without a doubt, the mushrooms put me in a place of inner peace. And that's something undeniably that your spirit can't say no to if you know it to be true. So um yeah, that was teenage years. um and I don't know if there's anything else really from my childhood that would really, I guess, impact or direct me to the path that I'm on, besides my parents also having an open mind, and accepting of all types of cultures and people, and they were good parents, I'll say that. So
Well, the next question that I had lined up, I feel like you could have answered it. You may have, or but I think it's it's trying to kind of put a lot into a specific time, which may not be easy, but or may not be really necessary. But it was there a specific time or catalyst that may have symbolized your transition into becoming more of what you are, aka more of the spiritual and or sometimes what I call the essential self.
yeah,
And I think you touched on that
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
clearly.
It was no, there was. It was a calling. So there was a specific calling. I think I've said this in one of your other podcasts that we had, but um, I do remember vividly. It was 2016, and it was funny thing. It was the Colorado law changing where they decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms. So at that moment, it was definitely a calling. As weird as that sounds, right? It was a calling for me to show people how to use mushrooms in a good way, show people how to use this for spiritual growth, because that's something that I was able to find through mushrooms. And I mean, honestly, it was when I would sit with mushrooms. So obviously, like, let's talk about it. So obviously, when you first start experimenting, as most people do, you're doing it at parties or concerts, or recreational is usually not at all the right setting. So you're usually with friends, and it's all just fun and games. So I did my fair share of that. But it wasn't until I was alone, um, and using mushrooms alone, and this is my own path. I'm not recommending it for everybody, but um, that's when I started to go deep inward, and that's when I started to, I guess, focus. Well, there's no guessing. I started to focus on my spirit guides. So I remember the change was when I was trying to communicate with my spirit guides through mushroom experiences that led me to benefits. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was I I wouldn't be able to explain to you how it benefited me, except for it fulfilled me in a different way, right? So it's something that was helping me, and I couldn't explain it and didn't know how, but I knew it was working. And it put me into a place of inner peace. I would say, and I always say this too, it broke my brainwash. So I am convinced that we are grown into this society structure, whether you're in a public school or not, whether you're um, in this country or that country. I mean, there's still a structure to society, and there's still going to be some sort of conforming to that structure, also known as brainwashing, right? Like, you're going to be forced into this box that they want you to be in. What the mushrooms did for me was it allowed me to reprogram my brain. It allowed me to break my brainwash. It allowed me to see the truth. It allowed me to see new depths of this life that um, shatter the reality and the structure that you've been told. So that's something that's huge. Um, that really did set me in this understanding and knowing of the spiritual side of it, naturally. And then, yeah, so 2016, Colorado changed their laws. Um, I was set on moving from California to Colorado to facilitate ceremonies, even though I didn't know anything about that or what that was. Um, but that was the turning point for me. Um, I didn't move to Colorado. Luckily, the laws changed here shortly after. Oakland and Santa Cruz both decriminalized mushrooms, so uh, God worked in my favor. God opened up the doors, manifesting. God opened up the doors for me to still be here with my friends and family and follow the path that is for me. And there's a little nod to manifesting right there. Um,
Yeah, I know the first practice run, the dry run, talked about something you said, just kind of made me feel about how to visualize the unfolding process of things. Um, and when you're talking again, it kind of brought that back. Just a little bit of a change because I think it's a little bit unique, and we haven't talked about this so much, but I know we talked about it personally, a few times. What are like some of the books that you've found interesting, inspiring,
oh,
um, worthy of reading? Glad you read them. Want to, you know, practice and share.
yeah, no, books are good. One of the first books that, well, this is not a spiritual book. One of the first books that helped me in life, and it helped me again, that break in my brainwash, was actually Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. And that is a conspiracy book. That's a big conspiracy book that talks about the powers of the world and how they control the world. And Yeah, that's a good one. I highly recommend to everyone. It is not a religious book at all. It's a conspiracy book. But it's not wrong. He's got a lot of good points.
It's a history book.
Yeah. So behold,
Telling a history book of the future.
so yeah, and R.I.P. William Cooper, Bill Cooper, the guy who wrote the book, actually was murdered by law enforcement because of his activism. Essentially, he was shot on, I want to say on his own property or something, but it was a bit of a setup. But that guy also, Bill Cooper, predicted there would be an attack on American soil, and then 9/11 happened. So he did have some inside knowledge.
Perfect prediction of the
Yeah.
CDC, FEMA. I think there was a lot of things. I didn't
Yeah.
even hear of the CDC until like 2020. And once I did, I go, I know I've heard of that before, actually. And I
Yeah.
went back to that book and reread some of them, going, "Oh shit, it's on!
So yeah,
It is on!"
that was the first book, just and that one was just to, I guess, perspective change, shift your way you think. But as far as other books that are more for growth, I would say the first or the second one after that that was good was Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. That's a real good one. That's an old one, oldie but goodie.
1969, maybe.
Yeah, I think
It's
even
pretty.
50s. It might even be 50s. But that one it's essentially the godfather of self-help books. So that one's like the original self-help book. That one explains in a way how the mind works and how you can kind of direct your mind or program your mind, and it's more of a mind over matter type of thing. So that one is really good. Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Other ones after that that get a little more spiritual, I would say, is Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza has quite a few books. The first one that I think I read was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That is a good one. Another good one by Dr. Joe Dispenza is Becoming Supernatural. So those are two real good books on manifesting as well. So yeah, Psycho Cybernetics is like self-help manifesting. Joe Dispenza is like all manifesting and healing yourself, and yeah, it's way more different, way more into the spiritual side, but he's a doctor, so I guess he doesn't so much say the spirit exactly. He does have a scientific approach to help people understand how this is working. Other books. There are a few indigenous books. I want to say Sacred Plant Medicines. I got to look that one up. I forgot the author, but there is a good one, the Sacred Plant Medicines book, and it talks about all types of medicines. Um, the Four Agreements, that's a pretty good one too.
Miguel
Uh, oh my goodness. The Four
Miguel Luis.
Agreements. Don Miguel Luis, right? Is that it? Okay, yeah. The Four Agreements, that's a good one. And now I can't think of the Four Agreements of what they are. Be impeccable with your word.
I don't remember
Oh
neither.
my goodness. Now I feel embarrassed. But
He's shy.
yeah, yeah. Other books, I don't know. I mean, you can always look at religious books too, like the Bible. That's a fun one. The Buddhist teachings, they got a lot of good, I'd say, just basic concepts. I mean, you could scrape up some knowledge from all of those and use them, and I'm not opposed to doing that. Actually, that's my preference.
Mhm.
So I like learning about all different types of religions and using what works for me. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it feels so right.
I think I'm kind of with you on that one. What about any? I mean, you already mentioned Joe Dispenza, and I kind of had him in the back of my head with some of these questions because I know that I like him as well. I think he has excessively insightful information to share. Any other thought leaders that you might listen to? them speak on YouTube or wherever that they may be
Yeah.
found. Sorry, Rumble, you just don't have quite that much of this type of stuff.
Um, no, you know what? You made me think of another book too, by asking of thought leaders. But Thomas Campbell, My Big Toe, which is a theory of everything. That is another one that I co-sign everything that guy says. That to me, he's spot on. I think Thomas Campbell has the right idea. So there's plenty of YouTube videos of Thomas Campbell. I would recommend looking at those. Dr. Joe Dispenza, I would recommend looking up those. And then you know there are indigenous teachings, and there's uh I can't think of the names, but there's quite a
Yeah, no,
few
you
that I
shared some
skimmed through. Yeah,
some ones with me
that
too.
I
Yeah.
skimmed through on YouTube, and now I feel bad not giving them the proper credits they deserve. Um, but yeah, I definitely will look for, literally, I'll just look for like wisdom from native elders and just start going and diving into that, because you come across so many different ways of explaining the same thing that it's like you're bound to get it.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of part of
Yeah,
it.
something's going to resonate with.
Um, but I would say honestly, get out there and meet people face to face too. I've learned a lot from my trip to Mexico, to the Comcac Nation, the Seti tribe. So that is in Punta Trueca in Hermosillo, Mexico, and they have taught me a lot. I went there for a few weeks as like a spiritual retreat, and that changed my life greatly. They they have knowledge, and there's a lot of people like that. I mean, I for me, I had to go to Mexico to feel like I was on this journey, so that's what it was for me. But you don't have to. I mean, there's probably leaders and spiritual people and indigenous people near you where you can find, and just hopefully they have an open heart and they have an open kind of policy. But if you are right for it and ready for it, it will happen, and they will recognize that, or things will happen. So I would say, yeah, Maestro Rene out there in Punta Treca, he's taught me a lot. I would say that guy has convinced me that magic is real, as funny as that sounds, and he doesn't even know he did that. But yeah, there is some real supernatural powers that we can train ourselves to know and have and use. So yeah.
Well, getting to some supernatural powers, and I think this is going to be interwoven through everything we do, but definitely through this conversation, kind of circling back to manifesting. So I'm going to ask the most obvious question: what is manifesting?
What is manifesting? Manifesting is what happens naturally. Yeah, the way I understand it, and it's obvious to me that everything starts in this invisible reality. Everything starts as a thought in your mind. After it's a thought in your mind in this invisible reality, you will speak it into existence or write it into existence. After you write it into existence, you or others will act on it physically and create it physically into existence. That right there is how everything is made or is manifested. So it's just a matter of being aware of that process and observing and tuning into that process. Um, there is techniques that you can do to help support that. Um, Gratitude, the attitude of gratitude. Gratitude is so strong, people don't really understand. Love, the power of love, the emotion of love is so strong, people don't really understand. It's hard to fathom. So using those energies, and I'm calling them energies because we're talking manifestation. So using love and gratitude and using your emotions, your heart, your spirit, your soul, that is all an energy that will manifest, that will be what your reality is, right? So uh if you feel all the things bad happen to me and I can never catch a break and why am I always getting screwed over? That's going to be your reality and that's going to manifest into your reality. If you are grateful for the things that you do have and you have love for the things that you do have, that's going to be a reality and that's going to grow. And it's kind of common sense, but we have to be aware of it and we have to be mindful of it and catch ourselves, right? It does take a little bit of practice and training. There are things that can distract us from what we want to manifest and what's the right path for us. So it can be tricky, but it gets easier, just like everything, right? It gets easier over time as you start to do that. I like to be specific when I manifest. But yeah, well, to answer your question, what is manifesting? That's to me what manifesting is. Manifesting happens. It's a natural part of life. But what the manifesting is that you're kind of speaking of is how to do it with what you want, so to speak. Like, I want to manifest $1 million, right? That's, a hypothetical desire, but you can
Would it be a
manifest.
frequent flyer as
Yeah,
well?
but you can manifest
Yeah.
that, right? And it doesn't always look like what you think, but it usually looks better than what you think. That's one thing I've learned. Like whatever my plan is, whatever my mind can think of, there is a greater intelligence and a greater power that has a better plan that's bigger and more beautiful. And I have to allow myself to follow that. So yeah, that's what
Well,
manifesting is.
this question actually quite perfectly, and so I'll probably just take you a few sentences back. What techniques have you used, and what techniques might you recommend?
All right. So, first technique, which I did already say, is gratitude. Gratitude and love. You're emotional and true, and it's true. It's not like you can't fake it, right? You can't just say it. You have to say it and mean it, right? So, like you have to truly be grateful for things and truly love the things that you are wanting and want to manifest. And you can't have that doubt. So, like techniques. So, okay, I want $1 million, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, yeah, that'll never happen. Well, then that's what you're manifesting. You're manifesting forever wanting $1 million and it never happening, right?
Hmm.
So that's part of the
Which is a
technique.
kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a two steps
Um,
backwards.
so manifesting techniques look like, and this is a Joe Dispenza thing. Think of it as it is, not as I will be there someday. Don't think of it as I want or I'm going to get, because you will forever be in that chase of almost getting it. You have to focus and think of it as it is already, and then when you're saying, okay, this is already, let's say $1 million. This is a horrible example, but let's say the
But
million
it, it
dollars.
it
Uh,
it resonates with people. You can see that it is kind of something that hooks people in, and I think not always in a good way, but kind
yeah,
of hooks people into the whole market. They become part of the market. So
yeah.
I think it's a good example because of that.
Well, it's definitely the number one game we all play is the money game. Okay, so I want to manifest $1 million. One of the techniques is think of it as it is already. Like, I already have $1 million. I have $1 million. I'm a millionaire. I'm happy to be a millionaire. I'm so grateful I'm a millionaire. Okay. And then what? Be specific. What does it feel like to have $1 million? What does it taste like to have $1 million? What does it smell like to have $1 million? Specifically, like, oh, yeah, I'm thinking of now I got my wallet and I'm opening it up and there's easily 5 grand in there, fresh hundreds, crispy. Your imagination is big in manifestation.
I feel like going and getting the biggest black stone on the market. Yeah, why not?
That's
Yeah,
exactly it, right?
millionaire.
That's exactly it. But it can't be, and this is the part too, it can't be this like, oh, I'm playing around and fake and I'm just pretending.
Mhm.
Um, yes, you're using your imagination, but as a kid is using their imagination to think something is so real, that's the way you have to use your imagination as it being real. Truly knowing and understanding it to be real is your brain doesn't know the difference. I guess that's the science behind it, right? When you're dreaming, when you close your eyes and you're in your dream and you're going through these things in your dream, compared to when you are in this waking life, this physical life, and going through things in this physical life, your brain is doing the same thing. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It still has the same connections and neurons in your head doing the same thing. So the dream reality, the invisible reality, and the physical reality, your brain's doing the same thing. Your brain's just a tool that is not knowing the difference between the two. So this is why when you are thinking of bad things happen. When you're thinking of good things happen. Same thing with awareness. Like when you buy the red car, now you see other red cars, right? Before you had the red car, you didn't see any red cars. Or if you have a Toyota, like, wow, there's a lot of Toyotas on the road now. It's just your awareness shifted, right? So a lot of it has to do with that. Other techniques is writing it down and being specific when you write it down. So, millionaire, you're gonna write down, what a millionaire, has, and you're gonna write down what you're spending your money on. You're gonna write down like you're a millionaire and you're doing your accounting. You're gonna write down, you're gonna be very, very specific on every little thing. To manifest the house that I lived in, the property that I'm on right now, we wrote down specifically what our dream house would be, me and my wife. And I emphasized it to her. We have to be specific, like the paint on the walls and the smell in the house when we're in there, and our kid running around on the porch and playing, or like, you got to be specific. The more specific, the better, because that's going to allow more chance of it happening, I guess, or that's going to focus more of your intent and your energy to that happening. So techniques are gratitude, love, being very specific. It's not that it's going to happen, it's already happened. It is. Understand it and have gratitude that it already has happened. And then being very, very specific, writing it down, acting it out if you want. You could even act it out. Art is a beautiful, beautiful tool that has many, many, many layers of creation there. So I do truly think, like, when you're making this music or you're writing a song about these things, that's manifesting it too, right? So be mindful of the music you're listening to or making, right? Um,
Mhm.
there is paintings.
Now you tell me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is paintings that might come out in the future later as like, hey, for some reason I feel like that painting is related to this part of my life now. Like, how did
Mhm.
that work, right?
Yeah,
Subconsciously, you
I've had
knew.
that too much with music.
Yeah. So, art is a very, very useful tool for manifesting in a fun way, right? Creatively fun way. Manifesting is creating, right? That's all we're ever doing. We're always creating. Other techniques that I use.
Well, let me ask you this. Why gratitude and why love?
So my opinion is that if we're talking gratitude and love, that they are at a energetic frequency that is higher than fear and uh, what's the opposite of gratitude? Fear and sorrow. I don't know what the opposite of gratitude would be.
Discontent or
Yeah, greed. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, but that's like, how do you measure that? Dan Winter. Oh, now we're talking about other people, right? Dan Winter is someone who measures the frequency of love. Whether he's accurate or not, that's for you to decide. But Dan Winter has a lot of good information on heart heart brain coherence, I believe is what he's talking about, and the frequency of love, and scientifically measuring the vibrations and frequencies of love. So my very basic opinion on that is love is a higher, faster frequency, more frequent up and down, because that's the way frequencies are. Think of it as a sine wave. Where things that are the opposite of love, fear, is a lower and slower frequency. So even in that basic statement, you can say that the faster frequency will make things happen faster. The lower frequency will make things happen slower. Um, that's one way of explaining it. Another way of explaining it, and this is through more ceremony, more spiritual growth that I've come to understand this. This is a weird concept. Um, there is only love. So this is going to be long winded, but let me get into that. So there is only love. What do I mean by there is only love? So in science, I had an epiphany when I was taught that there is no such thing as cold. Cold doesn't exist in science. And that's like, wait, what do you mean? This is cold weather, right? Like I could feel cold. Well, technically, it's measurements of heat. Everything is a measurement of heat. We have physically never been able to get anything to absolute zero cold. We've gotten really, really close, but we can't get it to absolute no nothing cold. There's always some measurement of heat. There's always a way to measure heat. So when you're saying it's 300,000 below, well, you're still able to measure that much amount of heat. So there is no such thing as cold in science. There's only heat and measurements of heat and different spectrums of heat, different, scales and grades and radiants of heat. The epiphany that I had at that moment was the aha part that happened was, oh, there is no good or bad. There's only good. There is no love or fear. There's only love. So there's no good or bad. There's only good and measurements of good. Some things are more good than others. Some things are less good than others. But there's still a part of good in there. Um, and same thing with love. Like everything is love. So it's just measurements of love. Some things are small measurements of love. Some things are bigger measurements of love. With that understanding, we can also see how some of these religious texts say things like, there is a spot in heaven for everyone who accepts Jesus and wants to be saved. And they're saying the same thing. They're saying even though this person is the worst person in the world and committed the worst of sins, they can still there's still something in there that is good. There's still something in there that is love, that they can still become good. They can still be a good person and a loving person. So it coincides with religious texts like that, right? So you're saying, why love, why gratitude? Well, the understanding that I have is because that is the only energy and the only currency and the only way to manifest and buy this stuff. So, yeah, that's my explanation on why
Thank
love.
you. Yeah, because I think, people would probably hear that, similar message, and you never really hear the reason for it very often. So I was hoping that you would help us out with that. So I
I,
appreciate that.
I got one more
Yeah.
thing too, because I do like this little play on words. So I like I like I like how we're saying energy, right? I'm saying energy, energy, energy. And a lot of people were like, yeah, you're full of shit because energy is electricity and blah, blah, blah. But I do like Okay, so words are fun, and you could do this in the English language. I don't know if this works across all languages, but energy is also known as like electricity, right?
Mhm.
Energy, electricity, which electricity has current, right? There's a current with electricity, which I like because it's similar to the word currency, right? So I've said this to you privately, I think too, but like the way I see energy is the currency of manifestation or of this life, this existence, right? So like the energy that you're putting into it is the currency that buys or manifests or creates this reality. And that to me is a fun little way of also understanding it. When I'm saying like energy, it might help you to understand that concept of electricity and current and currency, and playing with these words
Yeah,
are
can we
fun
throw
ways.
conductivity in there?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the
I
fun thing
feel
with
like yeah.
words, right? Like, that's attraction, right? Conductivity, or
Yeah.
like how much it attracts, right?
Well, you know what, that's it's neat that you say that because when you I've had a lot of thoughts going through, but I'm kinda trying to just let, you go. Um, and I'm noticing a lot of things you're saying is like, "Oh, that's gonna circle back a little later too."
Mhm.
Um, ooh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's alright, we can
Yeah.
keep it going.
Alright, yeah, there was something there,
But those were the techniques for manifesting. I like to play on words.
but
I definitely, find fun little, what's the word? I guess, like,
yes, I'm
connecting the
sorry.
dots.
I got it. Where when you were talking about love, it seems like and I was just thinking about, like, being attracted to people. Like, what makes one person more attractive than the other person? And when I just think about my experience and my outlook, um, whether it's correct or not, but I find people to be most attractive when they are kind, when
Oh,
they
yeah.
are, you feel pulled in by something, opposed to, and I think this one is almost universal. But when you don't feel kind that they're being kind, you feel, you know,
Yeah.
repelled. You feel pushed away, right? You feel
Yeah, and that is a very obvious, physical way of explaining, like, how love attracts, and the opposite, I guess we would say, kindness attracts, and, what is it? Not confrontation, but aggressiveness repels? I don't know what
yeah,
we would call that, but yeah, that is a
not
good
being
fact.
nice.
Yeah, badness.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was kind of my interpretation, but there was kind of a lot. Um, do you wanna go anywhere else with manifesting at the time, or do you wanna talk a little bit about the medicine?
Um, for manifesting, I would say there
I know
it's
it's a big topic.
yeah, no, but it's just there's like, there's things that happen that once it happens and you see the manifesting happen, and then you'll know, and then you'll believe it more. But if you haven't had things happen that you can say, "Oh, I manifested that," then it's not gonna resonate quite yet. The biggest thing, okay, so I will say this as the closing manifesting talk. So when I learned manifesting was real, um, I was in my young 20s. I was, DJing, making music, as we were talking about, um, and I finally decided in my own mind, my own heart, I said, "You know what? I'm actually pretty good at this. I've been doing this a while. I'm gonna pursue this, as something for real professionally." And I said to myself, I said, "I'm gonna get my song on the radio, and I'm gonna make it, right? I'm gonna do this for real." Um, and it's so funny because I remember I was saying then, and it's such a cliche, fake it till you make it. So this is what my mentality was at the time. It's like, okay, I'm gonna fake it till I make it. I'm gonna live as if I am already Mowgli, the famous artist. I'm going to be that person. Um, and obviously, there's work to it too. So let me explain that part of manifesting. Yes, doors open up and opportunities arise, but you have to seize that moment. You have to take that leap. You have to take that step. That's the other part about manifesting. I'm glad that we stayed on this topic a little bit. It isn't necessarily that things just fall into your lap and happen as much as the opportunity arises for you to take advantage of the moment or seize the moment. Maybe not take advantage, but seize the moment. So, another good thing that I have been aware of is when to make that leap, when to take that risk, when to go for it. Don't miss the boat. That's the part about that. But yeah, I was in my 20s. I said, I'm going to get a song on the radio. I'm going to fake it till I make it. Um, and a year later, I had a song on the radio and I didn't know how I did it. But yes, I was out in nightclubs promoting myself. I was networking, talking to people, talking to other DJs and radio DJs and trying to get my stuff out there. It wasn't like I didn't put in the effort. Okay, so there's another part.
You
You
weren't just sitting in your room
Yeah, I
imagining
wasn't just
yourself as being a
meditating. Yeah, I wasn't just meditating the whole time saying it's gonna happen, and then some doorbell rang, and it was,
We need your music
yeah, it
right
was an
now.
Interscope contract at my door. Not at all like that. You definitely it's simultaneous with doing the work, right? So there is that part. Like I'm not just saying I can sit here right now and things will manifest and then oh I got a pizza at the door, right? You still got to make that phone call, right? So there is the
You
work.
gotta
Yeah.
share the currency.
Yeah, 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 that's right. Money
At least
game.
from my pizza guy.
But that moment that my song was on the radio, um, I was in shock. My friends and family were in shock. It was shocking because how did I do that? That was I couldn't even tell you the game plan if I tried, right? But I just know I was gonna do it, and I took opportunities when they arised, and that part, seeing it happen, changed me into a manifester, right? Like once it happened, then I was like, "Oh, this is real." Um, the most common like skill set to manifest and things to work on, it sounds funny, is parking spots. So it's a very like you could YouTube this, Google it. It's a very common thing. People manifest parking spots.
Oh, that's funny.
People manifest good parking. Like I'm gonna get a parking spot right in front. And you'd be surprised how many more times it happens than it doesn't. Like literally, like you'll pull up, a car will pull
Awesome.
away, and you just pull right in. You're like, wow.
Thank
So if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. And if you don't have it like an experience happen a little bit, it's going to be harder for you to believe it. So it takes this key word here, faith. And that's part of religion that is true, but there's a spiritual side of it that you don't have to put that faith into a specific religious figure. It is just faith in it's all going to work out. Like it's faith that it's real. It's faith that the truth is more mysterious than we can ever explain. So it's all going to be okay. You know, it's going to happen. You have to have faith that the manifestation is going to be real. That's the part. Fake it till you make it. I convinced myself that I was going to have a song on the radio, and I did. But yeah, that's it for manifesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if anybody has any questions about it, drop it. We'll answer it in real time. Um, well, I won't, but Santi, Santi will, I'm sure. Yeah. So okay, getting into again, you know, words, but getting into this discussion of the medicine. You mentioned plants, but we know it's not just plants, right? It's other
Yeah.
sentient beings as well. Um, and the first thing that I had on this because I could see I'm starting to get lazy at 12 midnight last night on my notes, was The Calling, dot, dot, dot. But I think you touched on that with your Colorado story,
Yeah.
and I think that was kind of a clear calling. Was there any other callings that you feel that we need to approach?
Um, yeah, I would say the calling for a spiritual journey, that was real. So, the calling to be on a path of helping and contributing, that was in 2016, right? Like, that's my calling. I need to help others. I need to contribute. Um, that turned into me seeking a ceremony of some sorts to understand what ceremony was. I've heard of natives and indigenous holding ceremonies with um, mushrooms or ayahuasca, um, but I've never experienced that. And when I had that calling in 2016, I felt like, okay, that's probably the right way of doing it. That's the better way of doing it. I know I've done it my own way, sitting alone with medicine or mushrooms and meditating on my spirit guides and communicating in my own way. But I want to see what the people that have been doing this and holding these medicines for a long time. I want to see what they do and how they do it because I'm sure they have a lot of experience and knowledge and how to do that. Um, that led to me sitting in a bufo ceremony. Bufo alvarius is a toad, and there is a secretion that comes from the toad's gland that has 5-MeO-DMT as the active ingredient. That's a heavy psychedelic for those that don't know. It also has bufotenin, which they're not quite sure if or how that affects it. Um, but and the reason I say that is because the synthetic 5-MeO-DMT, in my opinion, is different from the natural toad that has the 5-MeO-DMT. But yeah, that led me to sit in a sacred toad ceremony. It also led me to sit in a ayahuasca ceremony. Ayahuasca, for those that don't know, is NN-DMT, and it's made from plant derivatives. So those ceremonies definitely pushed me towards another calling, which was spiritual growth, a spiritual journey. Once I sat in a few of those ceremonies, I wanted to go to the place where they originated. I wanted to uh, learn from the most authentic people that I could learn from, right? And that's what led my calling to go on this spiritual journey, and it led me to go to Mexico, to Hermosillo, Mexico, and Punta Chueca, to go on the reservation with the Comcac Nation, and also known as the Seri tribe. And that was another calling, and that was well needed. That definitely helped me out in my spiritual path. I definitely did a lot of shadow work there. For those who don't know what shadow work is, essentially it's opening up those closets of skeletons, facing your demons, anything that you're holding on to, any traumas that you're holding on to, any baggages that you're holding on to, things that you're insecure or self-conscious about. All of that is shadow work, right? So it led me to focus on that. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to ask this question and maybe be like a clarifying question, um, and maybe hopefully fun to answer. But why are these substances, and you mentioned a few, why are they often called medicines?
Yeah, they heal. I don't know. I don't know. That's the simple answer. They heal. As I said from a young man, mushrooms allowed me to find inner peace. You know, there is a knowing that everything's going to be okay after sitting with mushrooms several times, where I'm good no matter what. Like I'm always going to be good. I know I'm always going to be good, right? Uh, so that is why it's a medicine. It healed the fear or the anxiety or phobia of and what if the worst case scenario and what if the sky falls and what, we all get into this. Well, I shouldn't say we all get into this pattern. Oftentimes, we can fall into these downward spirals or get caught up in some bad thought patterns, uh, and it heals that. It is a medicine that heals many things. Um, but I would say the most obvious reason it's called a medicine is it heals. And yeah, I would say if you think about like what pharmaceutical companies call medicines, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's they're drugs,
Yeah.
right? But we call them medicines because they do a little bit more than drugs. Because I guess the word drugs we have a negative uh, stigma
I
with.
don't know. Some of us probably have a better connotation of drugs than pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, we're finding out more so in this day and age, right?
Okay,
How
no, that's I like a straightforward answer, and that's a good one.
that one's an easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, and again, I know I don't want to just do a rerun of everything that we've talked about, but just a little bit. Would you describe a little bit of your first encounters with some of the? I know you did with the mushrooms already.
Yeah.
Um,
Some of the ceremonies you're thinking, or
yeah, maybe
okay.
your early introduction versus maybe we could go into a little bit further experience and if
So
anything changed or not.
I'll go with the very first. We'll switch it up because we do have another podcast interview. So look out for more from or previous stuff from us where I go in full detail of my very first ceremony with the toad medicine. Um, but I'll go back to the first time I ever had mushrooms. I was like 14 or 15, super young. Super young. Don't recommend that to any 14 or 15-year-olds out there, FYI. But that was my path. So, I mean, you're saying, was there anything from my childhood that led me to this path? I guess that would be
That'd be part of
that
it.
would be part of it, as I said in the beginning. So, it was recreational, and I was with my cousin and some friends, and we ate them at a park. And I started noticing an ant trail a lot more than I would normally notice an ant trail, and that's when it kicked in. And
Actual ant trail.
it was a real ant trail, but I was like fixated on this ant trail in a way that I've never been before, right? Because that's when the hallucination started, right? So the ants like look zoomed up to me and I could see every little detail of them. They started looking funny, like trails was looking funny, like a tracer or a shadow of the ant, right? So, uh, and now that I think about it, it's funny that it was nature that caught my attention first. That's kind of a good point. But
Not the soap scum on the shower.
not the
Not a
soaps come
bachelor
on the
pad.
shower. Tripping out, it's moving.
Stupid.
So so
It's time.
the first mushroom experience was not a ceremony. It was recreational at a park. And we ended up going to other friends' houses, and I was just hallucinating, giggling, tripping out. Everything looked funny, sounded funny, and it was a parallel universe. That's definitely.
How did your body feel? Or can you recall any bodily sensations?
My body felt normal. Yeah, I don't think I recognized the body high because the visuals and the mind high was so overwhelming. Especially when you're 14 or so, it was Yeah, shattered everything that you could think of to be real.
Well, at least you
So
had more neuroplasticity at that time.
yeah, there you go. That's also why it's called medicine. There you have it. The science behind it is it increases neuroplasticity. It creates new neural pathways, aka neurogenesis. They're doing more and more scientific tests to prove that. So your question about why is it called medicine? But yeah, mushrooms were definitely recreational at first. I had not sat in a mushroom ceremony until I actually was in Mexico, believe it or not. So the first ceremony that I had, let's see. Younger did mushrooms, LSD, acid, and that was also just recreational at a rave, which was fun, but but definitely not spiritual by any means.
You're manifesting love.
Yeah.
A whole lot of love.
And I seen a lot of orbs. I tell you that much, glow sticks and orbs. But that was all recreational and um, just kind of to change my perspective. But the first ceremony that I sat in was actually the toad ceremony. Um, and that was in 2018. And that was way more than what I ever would have imagined. So I had a lot of experience, as you can tell. I had a lot of experience with mushrooms, LSD, even mescaline a little bit. So the psychedelic world I was familiar with. I've definitely had, I guess you'd call it the heroic dose of mushrooms, which is like 7 grams of
I would call
mushrooms.
that the ultra heroic
Yeah,
dose for 3 people.
I've definitely been in the thick of it where I had to coach myself through it, right? Like you freak out to a point where you have to calm yourself down and realize that I'm just experiencing this medicine. But at then it's like it's just the drugs, you're gonna be fine. It's just a drug. So I thought I was yeah, right? Coach yourself through it, just breathe. I
Find
thought
a happy place.
I thought I was a pro, so to speak, right? Like sitting in this ceremony with DMT I've never had, but actually I take it back. I did before that ceremony, I did experiment with DMT. It was the plant derivative of DMT, but I was smoking it. So I did get my hands on some DMT, and I did not do it in a sacred way or in a ceremonious way. I did it in a recreational way on my own, but it didn't really it didn't I wasn't doing it right, it didn't work. It wasn't giving me the quote unquote blast off experience. It was just kind of visual and a little bit of mental body feeling, and then it was short lived, and it wasn't. Yeah, it didn't really get me there, so to speak. So I
But it
did
was like a little wand, right? We're saying, "Ding, okay, you're onto something."
actually, yeah, kind of,
Yeah,
but
I know we talked about this before a few
yeah.
times.
Well, it felt like giant spider legs. I think I said that
Yeah.
last time. Like giant spider legs were all down me and on me. But it wasn't like a bad feeling of
Yeah,
spider legs, right?
not the arachnophobia
Definitely not. So
experience.
yeah, so I walked into this ceremony sadly confident. That's a horrible way to say it, but that's the truth. I was confident, like comfortable, like, oh, I'll be fine. I've done heavy psychedelics and I can handle this, and I kind of know what to expect. And um, other, yeah, the facilitator was definitely saying it's different, and this is not going to be like anything you expect, and he was absolutely correct. But when I sat with the toad medicine and experienced that, yeah, so that is a portal. That definitely gave me that blast off, like I said earlier. It definitely put me into another world realm or a portal into the one spiritual consciousness that we're all connected to. And it awakened something else inside of me. So the first time I sat in that ceremony, and I've said this in your other podcast, but it awakened my authentic self, my timeless self. It allowed me to truly see the difference between my ego mind self of who I am, Santiago, and the spirit timeless being that I truly am. And that was huge. I mean, that perspective shift, that's what allowed me to understand, like, even though I might be a great manifester, even though I might have this idea in my head, this plan, and I execute it exceptionally, and I become exactly what that plan was, I'm still limited to what my mind can think of. And there is a God intelligence, a great spirit, a universal intelligence, however you want to describe it. But there is a greater consciousness, a greater intelligence that we all can follow, and it will be more abundant, more powerful, more beautiful. It will be better than any plan you can ever imagine in your own mind. Um, that is what awakened inside of me on my first ceremony. That was huge for me. That was the first, I guess you could say, indigenous ceremony, and that was with the toad medicine. After that, I had an ayahuasca ceremony, and you were there for that one. Um, and that was different than the toad ceremony, um, but a deep connection to the spirit world is all I could say. That one definitely, it was more playful, and then it would go to hard. And then it was like, to me, at least my experience, it was like waves of like playfulness, and then like I guess you could say like hard, difficult feels. I don't know how else to describe it because it's just a feels. It's not like I was doing anything. Yeah, it was like, this is tough. I'm feeling so much stress or toughness or right, like and then it's like then it's back. Yeah, so it was, yeah, it was waves of that. Um, but it definitely peeked into a little bit of spiritual connections and supernaturalness. Like there is a purge moment. So for those that don't know, when you sit in ayahuasca ceremony, you drink a special brew, and the special brew often makes you purge. And
We're
you
not
can,
talking about a microbrew.
no, we're not talking about a microbrew. We're talking about
Not talking about Pliny the Elder here.
thick plant sludge, like yeah.
To me, it
So
looks like the chili sauce in the Chinese restaurants. You get the
yeah,
burnt chili.
yeah, it kind of is like that. Just
It
think
just
of
looked like I had that.
just think of
Which
boiled.
I'm a big chili lover, so I was like,
Yeah, it doesn't taste as good though. But just think of a boiled root bark, because that's what it is. So um
man, with care.
yeah, I was so you go through purging, right? Like you throw up or you pee or poop, right? And there's bathrooms, obviously, buckets. But yeah, there was a moment, because I was also there with my wife, my spouse. There was a moment where she was purging a lot, and it started to concern me. I felt like, is she okay? She was saying she was fine, but it was just still like, that's my wife, my love. So I was like, man, I'm concerned, and I start like rubbing her back and start like trying to console her or just comfort her. And then she stopped purging, and then I purged. So she stopped throwing up. Then I threw up.
You're it.
Yeah, which I I felt, and this is opinion, but I know what's true in my heart, and that's another good point. Everybody knows what's true in their heart, so listen to your heart. So I felt that I purged for her. I felt like it gave her a break, but it went to me, and then I purged for her, and then I was fine right after that, and then she was good for a little bit, and then kind of went back to purging. Um, but okay, that's like teetering.
It's kind of interesting.
That's like teetering along the lines of the supernatural, and that's like little nods to me about how like there is something beyond this physical that's real, right? There's something that you can you can tap into there. So that was that ceremony. The first mushroom ceremony I had was in Mexico. Um, and that was so that was after a lot of toad ceremonies. So I went to Mexico, like I said, for spiritual growth. I had sat with the medicine um, quite a few times, as this was what my heart called for me to do, and I was compelled to take this deep plunge. So I had sat in a lot of toad ceremonies throughout the week. Before I left, I ended up closing out my trip with a mushroom ceremony out there in Mexico, and it was all throughout the night, kind of like ayahuasca was. Um, but it was so mushrooms are funny, and they're called the niños, they're called the kids, because like I don't know if anybody's ever done mushrooms, but they make you giggle, right? Like things get funny and you start laughing
See this
hysterically.
softer side sometimes,
Yeah.
the funny
So
side of
so
things
yeah,
sometimes.
there's a lot of silliness and goofiness and playfulness, laughter, and that's often why they're called niños, the kids. So I felt like the mushroom ceremony was a little less ceremonial than the other ceremonies. It was a lot more playful, a lot more like joking and laughing, and because it's mushrooms, like you can't avoid it. You know what I mean? It just happens. You get that grin, and then you just start looking at the other person grin, and before you know it, you're laughing at each other for nothing, right? So yes, they're singing their medicine songs, and everybody's around the fire, but you can definitely get silly and goofy, and it was a little different, but it was good nonetheless, and it was a perfect way for me to close out my spiritual journey out there. So it was good.
Yeah, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I asked you earlier, kind of like what your bodily feeling was, when you're talking about your 14-year-old self, because I haven't taken mushrooms tons of time, but I've had it a few times. But what happens to me quite a bit is I kind of feel this like bubbling upwards of energy, whereas
Oh,
like, and they could come out as a like this very like deep like
the bubbling
funniness,
laughter.
yeah,
That's
and
funny. I think no, I couldn't say I felt, like I said back then, I couldn't say I felt that, but like now, yeah, I definitely feel the body effects of mushrooms, and then a lot of the times it'll like turn my stomach,
mm,
where I feel like I have to have to purge, like I go poo. Not all the time, but a lot of the times it'll do that.
now I don't know if we've actually talked about the detail of the ayahuasca ceremony where you mentioned uh, having the experience of purging for your wife,
No, I don't think I did.
but I did write a poem about the experience. And in the poem, and I've shared it with you a while back, it's been a long time, it said, purge, purge for all of us
Yeah,
in
that
that
is
poem.
interesting.
Yeah.
So that is the like universal connection, right? Like that's the way
Mhm.
that everything is connected in slight subtle ways like that. So
A few things that we were discussing today and kept bringing me back for some reason to this like visualization of the Atman, the I call it the essential self, and I think you called it the
authentic self.
authentic self.
Yeah.
And one of the visualizations that was introduced to me in something I heard or something I read, I don't quite remember, was kind of like the net.
Mm,
So it could be part of the stars or something if you want to visualize it that way. And your Atman or your star is part of this larger kind of net that's emanations. That's a more of a single strand emanation of the greater power, God, if you will, source, if you want, whatever.
mhm.
And there's a few things that you said that kind of made me think about that. But the experience, it you just had me visualize it in a different way because I tried to explain it and was like, I felt like some big slug thing or whatever, or, some big giant bug, and it's like giving birth, and we're like just part of that thing, and you know here or there, maybe getting shot out, maybe shooting something out, um, and maybe that was my personal interpretation of being connected in the form of Atman. I don't know. I'm not, but it connected that to my mind.
So this is why I think it is important to have a spiritual practice that does not confine to certain parameters, because exactly what you're saying is personal and for you and works for you, right? And what you're describing as this slug that's spewing out life, right, makes sense, and you get it, right, and you get
Mhm.
something out of it. But I can't take that and say it to everyone,
Yeah.
and they won't get the same, right? They're not going to get
You're
the
gonna get
same
some
value out of
strange
it.
looks. Yeah.
But I encourage everyone to get that which satisfies that thirst that they need, right? Like there was obviously a message you got from the slug, and it definitely uh it definitely explained itself to you well enough for you to
Mhm.
get the message that you needed and the knowledge that you needed. And there is usually some growth there, and there is sometimes some healing there if it's something that needs to be healed. uh Now, have I had an experience with the slug personally? No. But I have, but here's the funny thing, but I have connected with flies in my ceremonies and spiritual experiences, we'll call them, right? Like, so I get it. I completely get what you're saying. Like, for the analogy, I'm not 100% on the analogy, but for the experience and how it affected you, I completely understand that, because flies did that to me in some weird shape, way, or form, right? Where it's like, how am I connecting with these flies, and how is this creating some sort of knowledge and growth in me, uh, to make me a better person when it's flies? You know what I mean? Like, but that is the beauty of it all,
Yeah.
and this is why
Mm.
I side more with, like, the natives and indigenous, because they are big on all my relations, to everything that we are in contact with, we have a relationship with, and there is a spirit that connects us all, right? So it is, to me, it is obvious that, I mean, you can learn from the flies, from the slugs, from from
Mhm.
all of nature. You can learn from the trees, from the oceans, from the dirt, from the rocks, right? Um, and then it goes deeper, where you can communicate and get into deeper knowledge with that. But yeah, it's very odd, but it's very real. Like, that's something that I can say from personal experience. Like I said, you had the slugs, I had the flies. It was funny, but like that's just something that
Yeah,
happens.
for me, it was definitely an interpretation. It was like a generic interpretation, kind of, because
Yeah.
it was more of a feeling than anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't very visual even. It was almost
That's
not
true.
visual. Yeah, this one was just like more of a feeling, a
So
sound, a wave, energy.
yeah, so that's very true, and that's something to be said about, and I don't wanna categorize psychedelics like that, but that's something to be said about psychedelics. Like, they will do that, where you feel it and you experience it, and I call it a hyper reality, because it's beyond these senses that we have that we can explain well. So I call this a hyper reality. It's like an extended reality. Uh, but there's something that's deep, and I don't know if it's primal, or in it's something that we feel and know and understand out of that, right? And it's not always a visual, it's more of a visceral feeling and knowing. Um, kind of like in your dreams, right? And that's the best way I can explain it to anybody who has not experienced psychedelics. Everybody's experienced dreams. So look into your dreams and see what I'm saying. The dream world can be a hyper reality world where you feel something more than what you would normally feel in this physical world. And there's a picture of something that you might see, but there's something more that comes with that, that is an emotional feeling that you know. And it's not like that thing in your dream is telling you this. It's just a like a gut instinct, like I said, primal feeling that you'll get. Um,
It's just it's like some magic
yes,
that is
it's magic. I got to be careful using the word magic
yeah,
because people
right.
hear magic and then
We got to
again
kill the brujo.
they tune out. Yeah, they tune out. Yeah, yeah.
um, I'm gonna probably try to speed up a little bit,
All right.
because I do feel like I have some fun questions that we could be. I don't know. I don't
We
know
could
how
talk
deep
for
we could get
hours.
into. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I do want to say, we did a stream a while back of your past life
Memory
uh,
regressions.
memory regression,
Yes, yes.
and check it out. I think there's certain things again that we talk about. It's everything, like you said. You listen to this, and you listen to this, and you listen to this, and you find something sometimes that speaks your language, speak your spirit language. Even like some of these things, they don't speak my English language, like the slug thing, but it spoke a language to something primordial or whatever it is, right? Something that has had vastly more experience than the current ego has. Let's
Hmm.
just say that. So check that out, please. It's pretty deep. It's neat. Um, all right. Before I skip past the medicine, what do you think the force of the medicine is?
The force of the medicine,
Again,
like
I'm
the
sure.
energy of the medicine. Yeah. So mushrooms are interwoven underneath the soil and connected to everything. Mushrooms are not a plant, even though they do seem like a plant. They're a fungus, which is technically a different type of living organism. Um, they have a good interconnected, um, like being amongst a lot of land. If I'm not mistaken, you got to look this one up, but I think there's like miles of mushrooms connected underneath the land,
It might be the
and
largest
the largest living
living
organism,
organism.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then their fruit is the mushroom, pops up from the soil, and that's what we're eating, right? So, what is the force and energy of that? I think they have the knowledge of all the things that they've been connected to and are living with. We can connect to people by talking to them, and they share their life experience of what they've been through, where they've been. I think what the energy and the force of mushrooms is just that. You're connecting to that deep, large organism that is uh, all underneath the land, and it. I mean, the land is timeless. The land, yeah, this earth was here for eons, right? So that mushroom,
Unfathomable to our mind, I'd say.
that mushroom's got that knowledge, right? So the force of the mushroom, the spirit of the mushroom, the energy of the mushroom is that of the earth that has been talking to the mushrooms and in their relationship together, right? You know, there's that part of it. There's a deep, overwhelming feeling of love again when you sit with these medicines in the right way. So let's talk about the toad medicine. The energy of the toad, the force of the toad, the spirit of the toad. The toad is another example of the earth. So the toad hibernates for 9 months out of the year. underground. This toad will stay underground 9 months out of the year, hibernating. It'll come up during the monsoon season when it's wet. It'll come up to eat, to procreate, and then it'll go back into hibernation. Um, Again, this toad is in the earth 9 months out of the year, connected to the earth. Uh,
That's interesting.
right? Like that's just a fact of what the physical thing is doing, just like the mushrooms, right?
I'm getting this kind of visualization
So
of dreams
it,
for some reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just in there hibernating, right? I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's got some sort of weird dreams, is whatever a toad dreams about.
They eat
But
toads.
yeah, yeah. But the spirit of the toad is this similar, as far as my understanding, is like it's getting its knowledge from the earth, the elements, and all these things, right? Again, when I sit with the medicine, and I sit with the toad, it's if you allow it, it's deep, overwhelming love. I mean, it's abundantly clear if you allow it. It is powerful love. The force of the toad medicine is all that is. It's like this oneness that you end up connecting to and becoming, and you find this force that you're shown in this hyper reality that you are the creation and the creator in the weirdest way. I don't mean this in a selfish way, but it's like you're the center of the universe. Like it is all your experience, and this experience is here for you. And it's a beautiful way that it is. Um, the ayahuasca, I I'm not exactly sure on the two root. So it's a root bark and a plant. I'm not exactly sure on their process of how they grow, or what their yeah, what the lifespan of it is, or anything like that. But again, we're talking about a plant. This plant has roots in the earth. This plant lives longer, like most plants live longer than us, right? Like that, yeah.
And they're
Yeah, in the
jungle plants, right?
South American rainforest. So again, we're getting connected. Again, the indigenous say this too, to all our relations, right? We're getting connected to these life forces that are the earth, the elements, right? The base and basic understanding of everything that we have in this reality, right? So in the physical real sense, it's deeply entrenched in this earth and the ancient knowledge of this earth. In the spiritual sense, it is a love force. It is a consciousness awakening, a connection to the greater one, great spirit, or God, or um, universal consciousness, however you want to describe it. But there's something that is undeniable, at least from my experience and most people that I talk to, that use this in the right way. It is something that is undeniable, that is positive, and a teacher and loving. It's something that allows for growth and healing, and it's typically an abundance of love that comes with it.
Well, just before we kind of move on, you want to do a quick analysis of marijuana?
Cannabis, yeah, I do have a
Because I know
little.
you have a respect for that.
I do have a little. I have an opinion on the cannabis. So, the energy of cannabis and the spirit of cannabis is typically abused, just like tobacco. So we can talk about tobacco in the same sense, right? So, um, I've been taught by the indigenous that tobacco is the first medicine. Tobacco was the first medicine that the indigenous would pray with. Um, Tobacco is still held sacredly, by the right people. But as we can see, tobacco is exploited and abused in majority. Like now, there is very few people that hold tobacco sacredly, Everybody buys cigarettes at the store, cigars, smokes without even thinking twice. So much so, it's a different kind of tobacco. Like it's not even the same strength and stuff, right? So tobacco has that same plant, life force and energy, and it's connected to the earth in the same way as like the ayahuasca. And there is knowledge, and you can pray with tobacco and get your answers or get your prayers answered. Cannabis, in my opinion, so I think tobacco relaxes and affects, right, relaxes, and it can make you kind of lightheaded or feel a little disconnected. That allows you some space for perspective change. But I feel like cannabis is also widely abused and used in a non-sacred way. Um, but cannabis can be used in a sacred way and enlightening. I I feel like for me, my personal experience was I was sitting with the medicine. I was sitting with Bufo, the toad medicine, um, regularly, and I had stopped smoking cannabis to give space just for the toad medicine because I wanted to be completely focused on just the toad medicine. Didn't want to have any other outside influences messing with what my spiritual journey was. So I was staying away from the cannabis. Normally, I am a regular cannabis smoker. So in this process, I was off of cannabis and did not have cannabis for a few weeks, and then um, I decided, all right, I'm gonna smoke again. I'm gonna smoke cannabis again. Um, and I smoked cannabis again, and I started getting in my head because that's kind of what cannabis does. Like that's where paranoia comes from, right? Like you get in your head. Um,
Reefer madness.
yeah,
You didn't jump out a window, did you?
so this is what I feel like cannabis is good for, analyzing, right? Like it gets you into this like analytical mindset. You
Mhm.
start getting lost in this one little thing and thought.
Pull the string.
So yeah, yeah, exactly. Pull it, keep unraveling, right? Um, but the cannabis to me, after sitting in the toad ceremonies and doing the spiritual work that I did, and as I said, like truly understanding the supernatural, experiencing the supernatural firsthand myself, my natural gifts, supernatural gifts being shown to me, and more of that coming out. I smoked cannabis, and I was in my head, and it's like my ego started taking over, and it's almost like the way I felt like is the cannabis had got me in my mind and in my ego more than like my heart and my spirit. Like it got me analytical in my mind. And I started convincing myself that the supernatural stuff wasn't real. And I started convincing myself you're fooling yourself to think that that's real. Like, and then I caught it and I realized I was like, wait a minute, like what is going on in my head? Like I'm convincing myself, like the ego came back strong. That's what happened, and
Mm,
that's my understanding of
hmm,
of how cannabis worked with me in that instant. Where
interesting.
yeah, where well, it gets you in your head. Everybody knows that, right? Like it gets you analytical. You start thinking of dumb stuff, like why do they paint cars white when I don't know. I can't think of a dumb
Yeah.
example, but you start thinking of dumb shit in an elaborate way with cannabis. And what I learned with cannabis in that moment was, yeah, it definitely got me in my mind more than in my heart or my spirit. So that's something to be mindful of. But I can't say honestly, this is kind of sad. I can't say honestly I've used cannabis in in a sacred way. I mean, I have prayed with cannabis like I've prayed with tobacco, but at the same time, I hold tobacco way more sacred than I hold cannabis, and I smoke cannabis casually as just a relax, kind of downtime and maybe get into a little creative zone to make music or something like that. Like I use it in a very physical and
Relaxed.
recreational way, like not in a spiritual way. But yeah, I do know, I'm pretty sure the Rastafarians have really learned how to use cannabis in a spiritual way to tap in and pray with cannabis. So I haven't looked into them too much though, but that's what I've heard.
We do chat a little bit about that on one of the streams too. So I'm going to hold my opinion that's out there already.
All right.
Just because I want to try to get as much as I can from you.
All right.
It's a bit of a drive away, so it's not like we both have a lot of kids, so
Yeah.
we don't get to
Time
just do whatever we want whenever we want.
time is precious. Yeah.
Um, what is healing?
Hmm. That's a good big question. Um, that's a big question.
It's a big toe
Healing
question.
healing
Big
can
toe.
healing can look like a lot of different things. Um, healing to me, what is healing? Growth, remembering. And the funny thing about the word remember, you're
Mhm.
putting the pieces back together, right? You have these members and you remember,
Mhm.
right? You put the pieces back together.
I think there's a
Healing,
religion built around that, isn't there?
I don't know. What's that?
Set was
Oh, yeah, the phallus,
yeah,
right?
Africa, separated and
Yeah, Isis and Set and Egyptian
yeah,
mythology, they call it. But I believe he cut up into a bunch of pieces,
put it down the rivers and
and then they
stuff.
had to get the pieces and put it back
Is it
together.
thought? Set and
Those
not
Set,
those, but
uh,
like thought. But it's yeah.
yeah.
I don't want
So yeah,
to
so healing is wholesomeness.
remember.
Becoming whole is healing. Um, growth is healing. The ways that I've healed, a lot of it also has to do with letting go sometimes. Healing looks different for every person. I I'm always working on healing. That's a weird thing to say, right? Like you always want to check and make sure that your cleanliness is next to godliness. You want to check and make sure that you're clean, you're healed. That's an ongoing thing. Just like, you wash yourself every day, hopefully. You wash yourself every day, like um
You.
healing, yeah, healing is something that doesn't stop. So it is an interesting question. That's my answer.
All right. Why do people seek to heal?
Because it hurts, because there is a strong pull for them to change. Um, because it's too difficult to carry on without healing, because you can't carry on without healing, because it's necessary. Like it is inevitable. Like I said, healing is growth. And if you don't grow and you stay stagnant, you stay still, you're essentially moving backwards because everything else is growing around you, right? So, uh, yeah, we continually shed our cells and create new ones. We're continually healing in that sense, right? We're continually growing. Um, it it's just it's a necessary part of life to perpetuate this life. You must heal, and it's beautiful when you see people heal. I have a lot of appreciation and gratitude, and it's an honor to be able to help people heal. That part that part's huge. That's the fulfillment. That part's huge. Like there's something, yeah.
I did skip some questions on facilitating because the time.
Yeah.
But I would maybe we could just do a whole hour or so on that. Um, so this one I tried to word a little carefully, but let's see. So it's based on modern statistics and diagnosis. Mental illness is out of control, and people of all ages are prescribed pharmaceutical drugs. What does your intuition tell you about that situation?
Yeah, that goes back to my early childhood point of we're all born into some sort of structure system that is designed not necessarily in harmony with this life and every other animal or plant or everything else in mind, right? So
Mhm.
um, the 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 way that we have tried to adapt to that, it seems like it's hurting our brain. I don't know how else to describe it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, think of this. Okay, so for however many years, thousands of years, hundreds of years, however you want to say it, we've been sleeping outside or under the stars, or it's only very recently like we've been indoors in a box for majority of our life. Like
Yeah.
that
A fully organic box.
that well, yeah, it's like we're in a house. Look, you go from a house to your job to a store to a like you're living in a box. As weird as that sounds, it's a fact, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, physically, that alone right there is gonna that's gonna fuck with you, like there's just something to be said about that.
Yeah.
We're animals too, right? Like we need to be in the rest of this world with the rest of this world in harmony. So I am convinced that this mental crisis is a lot to do with how our society, our structure, of how we all and cooperate and work in this world is very out of harmony with the way things should be, and that's causing people's brains to break, so to speak, right?
Mm.
Like
And their bodies, it seems like.
there's only so much you could take. I mean, what's the example? You put a lion in a cage, right? The lion's used to being a lion, right? So it's gonna mess with that lion being stuck in that cage, right? Kind of
Mhm.
the same thing with people. Like there's so much more. This is the part. Okay. We are more powerful than we know. There is so much more that we are capable of than we allow ourselves to believe. There is so much more greatness inside of each one of us that we ourselves are holding captive and prisoner. And that is the mental crisis, right? That right there.
Mhm.
Um we,
Mm.
we got we got
Hmm.
so many ways of control, and there's not enough ways to express yourself in a healthy way, right? So it ends up coming across, and this is obviously my opinion, right? But it ends up coming across as mental illness and many other things. But it's just, yeah, there is definitely brainwash on the world, and I would say it's good that there's an awareness of that. It's bad that pharmaceutical companies are using it as a means of profiting rather than a means of healing. So that's the other big part. Your question about the pharmaceutical companies, um, they are not genuine in their quest for healing.
Exploitation.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
genuine in their corporations' profit margins. They're genuine in the corporate entities' growth, right? So if they're focused on this corporate entities' growth, they're not focused on the end result of
Yeah,
their
which is less
patience.
organic than an inorganic being.
There you go. And this is what I've said before. It's a dead entity, right? Like, and that's something else. We could get into banking and all that
Yeah,
stuff
for
too.
sure, for sure. What is your vision for the future?
I'm optimistic. I do believe we're on the cusp of a great awakening, as silly as that sounds. I do believe that there was a fun Mayan prophecy for December 21st, 2012, right? That was like, oh, the Mayan calendar is going to end on December 21st, 2012. I don't think that's the right interpretation. Pretty sure the interpretation was the grand cycle ends and a new cycle begins, right? So all it is a turning point. It's a cusp of transition from one side to the other. I'm I am a true believer that we are on this turning point where we're getting away from the physical and the scientific stuff of like it's all materialism and there's nothing else besides materialism. I think we're getting away from that completely now because that's a religion in itself. And I think we're going back to, because it is going back to this spiritual connection and this, I mean, animals do this all the time, right? Like they know how to fly south when it's time to migrate. This connection that we have to everything. I think we're going back in that direction because that grand cycle's over and now we're going back into the other side of it. So we're going from one polarity to the other. I see this as a huge transitional time with a lot of new growth and a lot of big changes. One thing to be said about that, when a mother gives birth, is it pleasure and great and easy, or is it painful and hard and torture, right? Like there's growing pains and birthing pains, and that's
And then after birthing pains.
and after birthing, but that's what I think we're in right now. I think we are in this positive switch and transition, but there's also many birthing pains and growing pains in that process. It's all necessary, and I'm learning to understand that more and more as I sit in my own spiritual growth, right? But I do truly believe, and I am very optimistic that like the near future, I'm not talking about 100 years from now. I'm talking 30 years from now or less. The near future is going to be a complete 180 from where we're at right now. I honestly think maybe 15 years, we're going to see a whole different approach to life globally. But we'll give it to 30 years if that's needed. Yeah, I feel like it is I'm optimistic. I feel like it's a positive time. As much as it may seem like chaos and horrible, government control and everything that's going on, I am still very optimistic. I do think it is just the birthing pains of the beautiful future that we have ahead of us.
This question hopefully is a little fun. Do you think that psychedelic molecules connect people with what we might consider alien consciousness?
Okay, that's a fun one. Yes, the obvious answer to that is yes. But then I guess, question or rebuttal to that is define alien consciousness, right? Is what they say in scripture, angels alien consciousness? I mean, by definition, they are because they're not of this world, right? So I don't know what someone wants to define alien consciousness as, but I will say yes to all of the above. Yes, it can connect you to angels. Yes, it can connect you to ancestors. Yes, it can connect you to star brothers, extraterrestrials, right? Entities from other planets or other planes. Yes, it can connect you to different timelines. Yes, it can connect you to different times. Um, it really is all of the above in my personal experience, and that's my take on it.
Very cool. um, do you have a distinction between love and unconditional love?
That I never thought about. Yeah, yes. I suppose most people have different levels of love, different depths of love. Um, I'm not going to deny that I have a stronger love and more of an unconditional love for my children than I do for the stranger in, other side of the world, Russia or China or something, right? Like, um, yes,
Or any
I
stranger,
love all humans, right?
or
Yeah,
most people you know.
I love all humans, right? But obviously, like this person is my seed, right? So I'm gonna have a stronger love for that person. Now, I would say the quest, the the goal would be to have unconditional love for all that you have love for. But
I'm just gonna tell them come in whenever they want.
I don't know. Okay, that's fine. I don't know if that's a strong definition change. Like it's just layers of it. But
We're still rocking and rolling, but we're gonna finish up. So come in whenever.
come
Don't
in
worry
and
about it.
give us some love.
Why don't you just block our truck, and then I'll.
So while he's talking, I'm gonna say this.
So you need my help?
This is a beautiful opportunity
Oh,
to share
nice.
my
Okay,
heart and spill my guts with you. So thank you guys, whoever's listening out there.
absolutely. Thank you. Um, one more question.
Let's wrap it up with one more
Let's
question.
do one more and wrap it up. This one again, I feel like you kind of touched on it, but do you interpret this experience in terms of a simulation?
Simulation. Okay, that's another like you got to define that like alien consciousness. So simulation, yeah, yes, this is a simulation. But I don't know how you want to define that simulation. I am signing up to that simulation concept because that's how we manifest, right? So this grand experience is this is God experiencing itself. That's the simulation, right? Like there is great spirit, there is God, there is the one, and there are pieces of God experiencing itself in different ways to grow. That's my deep understanding of this simulation. So it's a simulation, but it's real. I don't know what to say, right? Like it's
Like
a
what
real
Joseph Campbell
simulation.
says, it's he doesn't say it's a simulation, but he says something like that. The only difference is it hurts.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a good simulation. I
You said more of a play, but yeah.
yeah, I think it's very real. I think it's very real, but that's mind over matter. You can tap into that other side of the simulation and the pain is just a sensation. That's another funny thing, right? Like it hurts, you said. Okay, so define pain. Pain is a sensation, but suffering is a choice, right? There's some pain that is pleasurable, as weird as that sounds, So it's a weird thing like that. Like when you have an itch and you scratch it, right? There's a
Mhm.
sensation there that you could call pain if someone else is scratching something that you don't like. But if it's like this is the spot that itches, that hits the spot. So it's a good fun
Okay.
feeling if you want it to be. So that is the simulation in effect. You have that choice to choose suffering or not, right? And that's part of that simulation. It's not always easy. It takes practice, but just like it takes years for a baby to walk, it takes years for spiritual growth to get to that point of of knowledge and understanding and knowing how to not suffer, even if we're in pain.
Final words of encouragement as we say goodbye.
I love you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys for being here. Appreciate it. As always. Amen. Aho.
Oh.
Namaste.